The following is a paid advertisement. The views expressed are the sole responsibility of the advertiser.
Put the power back in your hands. This is Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark.
Welcome to Behind the Law. Happy weekend to you. Great show lined up for you today. As always, the beautiful Makaila Nichols joins me. Hello, Makaila. How are you?
Great.
So there's this a case that just came out, and it's fascinating to me. Literally, this woman was in the car with her ex-boyfriend, and they did the deed, okay?
Yikes.
And she ended up getting an STD. Sued for $5.2 million and won that case. I'm shocked. It doesn't seem right. Would that happen in Florida? Could that happen in Florida?
Sounds like it happened in Florida.
Two of our good, yeah, right? It is a Florida story. It sounds like it actually was in Missouri. But we'll talk about that. If you get injured, can you sue your insurance company? What is coverage? We're going to address a lot of those issues. Two great lawyers are going to be here, Jason Recksiedler and Caroline Fischer with First Choice Law. Kind of a new law firm, but fantastic. They've both been around for a while, but a new firm doing great things. Also in the second part of the show, Greg Mann. You know Greg well. He's a real estate agent, a real estate broker, and property manager. He's going to talk about what's going on in the real estate market, but most importantly, if you have a rental home, how do you deal with these tenants? How do you evict a tenant? And also, how do you deal with HOA? So a lot of stuff lined up. It's going to be a packed show. Are you ready to go?
I am.
Here's what we're going to do. Very quick break. When we return, Jason and Caroline will join us from First Choice Law as Behind the Law continues.
Having debt can leave you feeling helpless. I'm attorney Justin Clark. Filing for bankruptcy may give you the power to lower or even eliminate the payments that have you living paycheck to paycheck. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life.
Welcome back to the show. Now, this might be a little edgy, Makaila. I don't know, but for broadcast television. But it's something that happened. It happened in the court of law. I think we need to address it. I hope your parents aren't watching in some ways, because of the topic that...
It's never a great way to tee it up.
Oh, yeah, probably not. Anyway, so here's what happened. This is a very true story. This happened in Missouri. It was boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. They're ex-boyfriends and girlfriends now. You'll know why in a second. So they were in the car. She was in the passenger seat at least for a minute. He was driving the car, and they, did what men and women, they were hanging out. So they did it. And unfortunately for her, he knowingly had an STD and passed the STD on to her. She sued him. She sued him because you have to sue him. But his insurance carrier was Geico, and they actually picked up the claim. And ultimately, at an arbitration, she was awarded $5.2 million against Geico, or Geico had to cover him, which I think is very weird. It's a case that I've never really heard of before. So, of course, Geico appealed, and Geico lost. And the appellate court in Missouri actually upheld this verdict of $5.2 million against this guy, which is a fascinating sort of case,
Yeah, that's nuts.
Who else to ask about this? Our good friends Jason and Caroline with First Choice Law. Guys, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Doing wonderful.
I think it's important. You got it. My pleasure. And first of all, you boboth look great for thinking you were coming on a radio show today. I got to tell you. You didn't know it was broadcast television. It's a fascinating case, but it brings up the bigger question of the different types of insurance that we have. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of this guy. He owns the car. He has to get insurance on his car. Florida's a little bit weird in what insurances they require versus what they don't. And I think that the vast majority of people don't know what they're getting because they hear PIP, UM, BI. They don't know what this is. I think it's good that we go through, let's go through this guy, go into his insurance agent, what carriers and what sort of types of insurance we can get. Start with PIP. What is PIP? What does that mean?
Sure. So in Florida, it's personal injury protection, and it was set up years ago to cover basically just the medical expenses, regardless of who's at fault for the crash.
Yeah.
And so it was designed to provide $10,000 worth of coverage. It pays at 20%. So there's always a deductible, so to speak, built into the concept, but it pays your medical expenses regardless of who causes the crash, and that's why PIP existed in Florida.
So let's say I'm in my car going down I-4, I get rear-ended, I'm injured. Is the person that hit me paying my first 8 or 10 grand, or is that my own carrier?
Your own carrier.
Okay.
That sometimes is confusing for people, but no. What we call Florida is a no-fault state, so it doesn't matter if you caused the crash or not. It's your own insurance that's gonna pay PIP. Of course, if you own your car and has your own insurance.
Right.
Otherwise, we will find try to find another insurance to cover.
Now, I was with you when you got insurance the other day. I mean, literally, do you know kind of the difference in these things or
No, I don't. I mean, they're like, hey, you need it right now to like take your car off the lot, and I was like, okay. And then you just kind of pick one, and you don't really know.
And a lot of people, I think, have the same thing. They don't know these different acronyms. They don't know how much to get, and really they're relying on their insurance agent to tell them who. But then at the end of the day, you think, oh, well, they want to give me as much as they can because they make more money. So I think what we're doing today is important. So PIP is no fault coverage. It's going to cover me no matter what. Then you hear about this bodily injury, often referred to as BI. What is that, and is it required?
So before I answer the question, one of the key things that we hear oftentimes are phone calls from individuals that were injured by somebody else in a car crash, for example, and they'll use the phrase, I went to my agent and I have full coverage.
Yeah, I hear it all the time.
Right?
That's what I would say.
And so from a legal standpoint, that has no meaning whatsoever. There's no such thing as full coverage. So you talked about PIP, which is the bare minimum required by law to have your car on the road. Bodily injury is to protect you in the event that you caused the crash, to make certain that you have a defense available to you and money potentially to pay on your behalf. And that's what bodily injury is, and that's the other aspect of insurance.
And I think to give you an example is the lady who was suing for what happened in the car and getting the STD. You don't actually sue the insurance company in that situation. You're actually suing the guy, and then the insurance company steps in to protect him so he doesn't have to give up his hard-earned earnings or whatever. Is that how it works?
Yeah, in fact, in Florida, you have something called the non-joinder statute that you can't even name the insurance company. You can only sue the individual, so that the jury doesn't even get to hear that there's an insurance concept behind there, just that the individual. But in most cases, when you see that type of actual collected verdict, it would be through an insurance company.
And it's very sad. Go ahead, please,
I'm
Karen.
so sorry.
No.
But if just to emphasize, if you do have the right coverage, which is the BI, otherwise the insurance has no requirement to provide you the defense and all that.
And there is no mandatory BI in the state of Florida, or bodily injury in the state of Florida.
It's
so
kind of
highly recommended that you add it if you don't have it.
I mean, it's hard to believe that we have people driving around in these killing machines going 90 miles an hour with our families on the road as well, yet if they caused a horrible accident, literally they have no insurance whatsoever. It's kind of sad. It's
unique to Florida, it really is. Most other states do have some mandatory bodily injury, so that if you're injured, there's some means of recovery. State of Florida does not have that.
Now, the good thing, and by all means, if you are getting new insurance, which you should really check on your insurance rates at least once a year, is the way I see it. And you need to ask your agent this. Do I have coverage? Because there are people out on the road right now who literally, if they injure you, have $0. You're going to get $0 unless you have your own Guys, what is Explain it to us.
Well, in the terms of uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist, and again, it's buying insurance to protect yourself from another person's negligence. In essence, somebody else causes the crash, you get injured, they have no insurance, or it's a hit and run. It's an insurance that's going to allow you to get compensated if you're injured in that crash. It's an extra insurance that you have to pay more for. However, it is a small portion of what your total insurance bill would be. So the primary insurance bill is usually the PIP, the property damage. You pay a little bit extra for bodily injury. You pay much less comparatively for the uninsured motorist protection, which is the only insurance that will protect you or give you a right of compensation if you're injured at the fault of another.
Yeah, and so when you do get hit by someone who might not have enough insurance or have no insurance whatsoever, and you have to go after your own how are they to work with normally? Because if you think about it, you're kind of their customer. You would think that they're there for you to really, pay you what you deserve. How are those cases normally?
Well, I do have to say, I'm not a big fan of insurance companies. So they're nice until you need them to, pay.
Yeah.
So they are nice with you when you're paying every month and not using, but at the moment that you're hurt, that you need treatment and you need compensation for it, they will fight hard. That's why you need good attorneys.
Sometimes it takes a good attorney to get them to pay what they rightly deserve. Because I mean, at the end of the day, and this is a simplified version of it, but insurance companies are there to take in your premiums and put up big buildings or invest that money and pay out as little as they can. I mean, that's why we exist.
That's very true, and the reality is that they want to hold on to that money as tightly as they can, whether or not you were there insured or they insure somebody else. And that's fortunately for us, that's where we come in to represent the consumer, the individual, the victim, and make sure that they get compensated fairly and justly.
Exactly.
Am I better off paying like the most for like my insurance, or should I go with like a lesser package? Like I really don't know how that works. Like, should I just go all in and spend the most money on something, or should I like not?
So again, everybody can afford only a certain amount in life, right? But I would advise everybody in the state of Florida that has an automobile, and you touched on it, right? These are killing machines. They're termed under the law dangerous instruments for a reason. And so I would advise anyone in the state of Florida, protect yourself, because the other person, especially in down economic times, isn't going to pay for the bodily injury to get you compensated. So I understand that you might not be able to afford the biggest policy as possible, but you want to have enough to protect yourself, and that would include bodily injury and uninsured motorists for sure.
And there are some people that watch the show that might have, some assets. They've done well over the last few years. There's one other type of insurance that I see a lot that I recommend, especially if you make decent money or you have some savings, that I've seen protect a lot of people, and that's an umbrella policy. What does that mean exactly?
Well, the umbrella policy, again, it'd be an extra insurance that you would pay over and top of your bodily injury or uninsured motorist. So again, you'd have to pay a little bit extra. But if you're a person with considerable assets, you want to protect those assets. And so you would rather have that insurance, and that's the basis of insurance, to pay on your behalf. And if you cause serious loss, and remember, in today's medical climate, and what I mean by that is the price of medicine, it doesn't take much to exceed the average or normal policy. Sure. So if you have lots of assets, you certainly want to protect those assets. That umbrella policy only comes into play if the damages and injuries are such that it exceeds what your kind of general policy would be.
Totally remember, if you get injured and you need treatment, the medical bills go on your name. It doesn't matter if you caused the crash or not. So if the person, there is no insurance, you don't have insurance, you still have to find a way to pay those bills. So
back to what we started with today. We have the lady sues her ex-boyfriend for giving her an STD after having sex in the car. I feel weird saying that on broadcast television, I really do.
So inappropriate.
I know, but I think it's a great example of something that we need to address. She's suing him as if she was a pedestrian, so to speak, and he hit her with the car. I mean, she's suing him for this BI coverage. Have you ever heard of such a thing, and can you even make an argument for her and how she won this thing?
Well, I've never heard of such a thing, so I'll be honest with you. But the reality is, I don't have the privilege of the policy or the law of Missouri, but the reality is there had to be proof of the fact that there was an injury that was related directly to that automobile. Yeah. And so if the act of injury, whatever the other act was, happens inside the car, I guess the argument is made that but for the car, you wouldn't have had that injury, and the injury in this case, obviously would have spoken for itself. So if it occurs within a car, I mean, it's creative to say the least.
Pretty smart lawyer, maybe.
It seems like hard to prove, though.
Well, I guess maybe there's video evidence. I don't know.
You guys, not new to law, you've been doing it for quite a while, but First Choice Law has been around a couple years now, I guess. You're doing a great job. We've heard from a lot of your clients who say that it's really the personalized service, I think, that you're able to provide. Obviously, we live in a market that is maybe the most saturated in America when it comes to personal injury advertising. What do you think separates you guys? What's that relationship like with your clients that can be a little bit different than other firms here?
I think we consider ourselves almost like a boutique firm. I think it's we care. Not only we're going to fight for our clients, but we care. We do have a great team that work with us, but we don't hide behind our staff. Jason says that a lot. Because we are hands-on, we're going to talk with our clients. You're not going to have that situation of I haven't talked with my attorney for a month or two. Sometimes you don't even know who your attorney is.
That's right.
Will be us, and we talk to you. We're going to answer all your questions, and that's, I believe, is a big difference.
Absolutely, and I've been with larger firms where that occurs, and the reality is we want to make sure that we have that personalized connection, and that's why we are a personal injury firm. We want to know everything about your life so that we can represent you in all aspects that have been affected as a result of the negligence of someone else. Yeah.
Keep up the great work, guys. Great to see you. Jason Recksiedler, Caroline Fischer, First Choice Law. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Justin.
We're going to do a quick break. When we return, speaking of insurance, let's say you have a rental home, okay? Maybe a townhouse, a condo, or an actual residential real estate rental property. What kind of insurance do you need to have on that? How much do you need to spend per month for insurance on this rental home? Does your HOA maybe cover some of that insurance? Real estate broker and property manager Greg Mann will be in this seat. We're going to move some chairs around, Makaila. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, quick break. Behind the Law continues. Does student loan debt have you spinning out of control? You are not helpless. At Attorneys Justin Clark and Associates, our goal is to lower or even eliminate your monthly payments. Call me today or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your financial life. Welcome back to the show. We were talking about insurance for your car before, but it also led me to think about what sort of insurance we need for our home, but especially for a rental home, because what you don't understand, if you have a rental home and your tenants actually get injured in the house, you could be on the hook for their injuries, just like if you hurt someone in a car accident. So you need to be very careful, especially if you have a rental home, about what types of insurance to have on that rental home to protect you and your assets against that tenant. And I thought it'd be great to have Greg Mann in here, real estate broker, property manager. Greg, how are you, sir?
Oh, great. Thanks. How are you today?
I'm doing great. So you're one of the biggest property managers in all of Central Florida. So you have this conversation with your clients a lot. Your clients have rental homes. And I think it varies a little bit whether it's a single family residence versus a townhome versus a condo. But let's talk through it together. Okay, let's say I own a house, single family residence. I'm renting it out. What type of insurance do you think I should have on that?
Well, it's like car insurance. The more you can get, the better for you. Because you're quite right. A tenant's there, a friend comes over, they have a party, they get drunk, someone falls over. No one's fault but the drunk guy, and then you get sued. And not only do you get sued, I get sued, the neighbor gets sued, everyone's getting sued. So we always have a conversation, get as much insurance as you can. And there's two types of landlords. You know, there's the individual that's got one property, and then there's a guy that's got 40 or 50. So he's got the umbrella policies, he's putting properties into LLCs, he's doing everything he can to protect his asset and himself so he's not sued for millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So we always have the conversation, go to your current insurance company, explain to them, you're going to get tenants in there, keep as much insurance as you possibly can. They drop the structure. Insurance seems to get dropped down a little bit, but we also make every single tenant get insurance.
Is that right?
It's extra. They have to have $300,000 worth, which is including all the liability insurance. So,
oh wow!
I know, broken pipe upstairs, water's dripping through the ceiling all day. They're at work. The brand new 90-inch screen TV is wrecked. No insurance. They're going to come and say, "Well, I'm going to sue the landlord. It's his pipe," but they've got the insurance. They can claim it that way.
But it's probably good for your tenants as well, because you must have had times where there was a break-in or someone stole a diamond ring, and them having renter's insurance probably protected them as well.
Absolutely. Touch wood, we've not really had anyone break in and steal stuff, but now that's probably happening right now as we speak.
In fact, you got to go.
Bye.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, the more protection they have, the more protection the landlord has, and the protection I have.
Right.
Hopefully, we're all good about it. But things happen. So, for instance, when we take on a new property, and this is a conversation we have a lot with owners. Why do you guys need to have to replace the locks? I just replaced the locks. Well, guess what? We don't know who's got a key. Joe down the street that was the lawn service and was checking in on the pet when he was on vacation might still have a key. Tenant moves in. Oh, the new tenant's moving in. They go in, bomb, steal all the stuff. You don't want that liability. So
that's right.
You know, you got to cover every angle.
When it comes to having a rental home, does the insurance, or at least the cost of the insurance, differ whether you have a single family residence versus a condominium?
Well, it all depends what the condo association is covering, what the HOA is covering. If you've got a townhouse, typically the insurance is going to be the roof and the exterior is going to be more with the HOA, so you can go a little bit lighter. But again, you know, if I'm saying to you, you put a property with me, get as much insurance as you can afford, because if that one time it does go wrong, you've got it. You know, I mean, and it's better to have it than not.
When you represent people that maybe are in a condominium, you're doing property management for the condominium or even a townhouse, when you see something get flooded or you see something go wrong that's the fault of someone else, that can become sort of a fight, can't it, between the HOA, the upstairs neighbor, and myself?
Yes. It can, but this is where Dee Dee, one of my associates who's working with the HOAs every single day, she's like a detective. She'll work backwards. Okay, so we've got a leak that's come into our downstairs unit. We work out, oh, it was the tenant's washing machine that's broken. So she's going to go back to the tenant, to the owner of that property. And then we're going to work out who's really responsible. And they've got insurance, our owners have got insurance.
Right.
So eventually it will work its way out. But immediately we jump in, we get all the cleanup done, there's no problems with anybody, and then we go through the insurance process.
And which is one of the beautiful parts about having someone like you who's a fantastic property manager, because these people who are our landlords, so to speak, they don't necessarily know how to do all that. What are some of the services that you provide to your clients who own rental properties?
Well, I'll just give you, and again, you can't make these things up or write them, but for instance, just as we were sitting waiting to come on set, we had a call about rats. So one of our vendors has immediately gone there within the last 30 minutes and discovered that the tenant has moved in a chicken farm at the back of the property. So, you know, the rats...
He likes fresh eggs, this guy. What are you going to do?
Well, it's like this rat family too, because the rats are there. So,
wow.
So how does an owner deal with that? The owner lives in, I don't know, Texas. It's impossible for them to do it because they're so far away. They've got to make a dozen phone calls. No one really knows what's going on, and yet we make one simple phone call. A vendor's there within 30 minutes, and we've resolved it already.
And I think what a lot of landlords out there might not even recognize is, sure, if you have a property manager, there's a very small fee, really. It's not going to cost them that much money, but they're going to make that back and then some if you think about it, because of your relationships with these vendors that you're just talking about. Not only are your vendors reputable, they're going to give it to you on a better deal because you do so much work with them.
They do, and what they do also, that they'll be there Johnny on the spot. So if we like the guy we sent today was literally a phone call and immediately there. The homeowner's calling 10 people. Oh, we get there tomorrow, it'll be the next day, or we book for another week. So it really pays off. It pays off. The vendors know what we expect of them. They're all screened, they're all licensed, they're all insured. Yeah. The homeowner doesn't need to employ licensed insured people, but it's better to do that.
I mean, Makaila and I were at the grocery store the other day, and she was complaining about the cost of eggs, but that's going to a whole nother extreme, creating a little chicken farm in the backyard.
Yeah, and then you have rats, no thanks.
Yeah. I mean, well, everything's more expensive now, isn't it?
Do you have a chicken farm yet?
No,
Thinking
I don't.
about it.
That's too much work.
Oh my goodness. So, all right, so insurance, as much insurance as you can possibly get. You want to protect yourself.
Absolutely.
And a lot of these people who have rental homes, they're paid off too. I mean, that's an asset right there that if someone gets hurt, they could try to come after that because it's not your homestead property. Talk to me, and I'm not trying to ask you legal questions, I promise, but some of your clients who own rental properties own 5, 6, 10 of them.
Yes.
At what point do they start talking about, I don't want to put this in my name, I want to put it in an LLC or a trust for protection?
Literally, once they get the second property.
Oh, is that right?
They're already talking about, and primarily because you come to me, you got one property, and I ask you what your plan is. Oh, I want to get 3 properties in 2 years or 5 in whatever amount of time. So we have our plan set in place. So it's in the back of your mind, oh, I'm getting my second property. Who do I talk to?
Right.
So they go off and they set up the LLCs or whichever route they want to go, which is best for them. And that's the way to go. I mean, they've got to protect every asset because if they've got a $2 million home and 2 rentals and there's an issue in the rental home, that $2 million home and other assets could be at risk.
Right. And so you recommend them after, at least on the second one, go talk to a lawyer, whatever you need to do to get the LLC set up.
Yes.
What about taxes? How do you find these people deal with the taxes and the accounting of this rental income? Or is that something that you help with as well? Because you're the one kind of doing the accounting every month.
It's super simple. We've got a really great online program that we use. So Mo, who is our bookkeeper, full-time bookkeeper, she will run 1099s at the end of each year. So they get the statements, they get everything is there. 2 pieces of paper in a file, straight to their accountant, straight to them, and they just file taxes as normal.
It's kind of easy to calculate how you're going to deal with the rental property, but maybe not as easy as we think. So you know exactly what your mortgage is going to be. You're going to pretty much tell me what kind of rent I can get. You know what the insurance is going to be, the taxes, whatever. So this is my monthly nut. This is the rent I can get. So you know if you're making a profit or not making a profit. However, there are going to be times where the refrigerator breaks down. There's going to be other expenses that occur that you need to at least account for. Is there a certain percentage that I need to be thinking about per month or per year for for these things these sort of wild card expenses?
Well, again, it would depend. If you come to me and say, I've got a house that's 15 years old, we're just moving out of it, we're moving into a new house, we're keeping that for rental, we have a different conversation.
Yeah.
How old's the appliance? How old's the AC, etc. So we form a plan there. If you're buying a slightly newer home, or a brand new home, for instance, a lot of people will buy the brand new homes, you're not going to worry about anything for 5 years.
Yeah.
But it's always good to budget and put about 20% of your income back into a slush fund, because when it does go wrong, it goes wrong big. I mean, an AC average cost is about $8,000.
Yeah.
That's a chunk of change.
It is, and going up. Everything's going up,
Oh, yeah.
of course. You know, Greg Mann, literally the best property manager I've ever met. Certainly one of the best in Central Florida. Keep up the good work, buddy. You're making life easier for a lot of landlords throughout Central Florida.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Here's what we're going to do, Makaila. Quick break. When we return, what did we learn?
Having debt can leave you feeling helpless. I'm attorney Justin Clark. Filing for bankruptcy may give you the power to lower or even eliminate the payments that have you living paycheck to paycheck. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life.
Really good stuff today. I learned a lot. Makaila, what did you learn?
I'm always learning. I mean, I learned, if I have a rental property and I have more than one, I should look into an LLC.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you never want to have the rental properties, even if it's just one sometimes in your personal name, because again, if anyone sues you for anything, they can't take your personal house because we have the homestead protection. But that only extends to your first house. Second house, absolutely not protected. So if you get sued and you have a free and clear rental property, they can come take that money.
Crazy.
Also learned about what not to do in a car, but we don't have to address that.
Yeah, no, we don't have to do that.
And I think what it is, whether it's vehicle insurance or your house or a rental home, get as much as you can possibly afford. Makaila Nicholas, great job as always.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us here and every weekend on Behind the Law. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you next week for more Behind the Law. It's been a really weird time for landlords over the last couple of years. Tenants have been a little bit angry. I think if you're a landlord, you need a property manager. The best one I know is Greg Mann. He happens to be here with me today. Greg, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
So let's say I'm a landlord and I'm trying to make the decision. Do I want to handle this myself or hire someone like you who is a property manager who does it all? What goes into that decision? Why hire a property manager?
Well, it's quite simple. It's one of your biggest assets. And let me ask you a question. If you want heart surgery, do you employ a brain surgeon?
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely
employ a property manager. It's very difficult. It's complicated. It can be complex. You can be sued. You can leave yourself wide open for many, many things. We know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it.
What do you do for me as my property manager?
Well, I'll make sure your property's rented, maintained, kept clean, and re-rented, and make sure you get your money.
And then monthly, some things can come up. Maybe something goes wrong. You're right here to solve all those problems between you and the tenant, or between you and anything that happens.
Yeah, we're your cushion. So, problem at the house, tenant calls us, they don't call you. You're on vacation, enjoying yourself, we fix whatever problem it is.
How do your relationships with your vendors work, and how does that help me as my property manager?
We have, every vendor is licensed and insured. Every vendor has a 30-day pay cycle, so I don't need money up front from you. And they work very, very closely with us. We've used them for years.
Yeah. If you are a landlord, you have rental properties, do yourself a favor. Call Greg Mann right now. Do not do this on your own.
Having debt can leave you feeling helpless. I'm attorney Justin Clark. Filing for bankruptcy may give you the power to lower or even eliminate the payments that have you living paycheck to paycheck. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life.
The proceeding was a paid advertisement. The views expressed were the sole responsibility of the advertiser.